So my name's Anne Marie. This is Jolene, Alex, Gyro, Kayla, and Gina. And we're here to talk to you about resumes, which we all found out in this class is actually called a personal marketing portfolio, not a resume. So what is a personal marketing portfolio? A personal marketing portfolio is like a short description of your work experience, your qualifications, and like things you're good at to make an employer want to look at you more. So we have personal marketing portfolios because when you hand them in, everybody hands one in, they usually ask you for one, and they look at them, and they only take a couple seconds to look at them, and you really want to make yours stand out because that's how you're going to be able to get an interview to get a job. So sometimes writing a resume can be really difficult. I know I hated it. It took me forever, and I just stared at my computer, and I tried to use like the one they actually have and just change the words. But you really should brainstorm first and get like a rough draft of what you think you want to say, and you should list all like your good qualities. And we learned in here that you should actually build it backwards. You should start with your achievements, then go into your job description, and then look at the formatting. Because if you start with the formatting, sometimes you just get all jumbled up and try to like fill things where things really don't fit. So the first thing you should really brainstorm is your achievements, because they're going to be your first bullet points on your resume that people are going to look at. So you want them really to stand out, because that might be the only thing they look at. So you want to make sure that something on there might catch their eye, depending on what kind of job you're applying for. Another thing that you should put on your resume is your experience. I don't think you should like cake it up with experience, because they're not going to read paragraphs and paragraphs of words. But if you know what kind of job you're going to apply to, you could really, tailor your experience for that specific resume that you're going to hand in to make sure that it looks good. And another thing we learned in here is education. You want to put your education on your resume if your GPA is like a 3.0 or higher. I know mine's on mine, and a lot of my friends are on theirs, even if they're not over a 3.0. I think, though, it looks better with a higher GPA. And then I put this on here because the main bullet points, I feel like that's what should stand out. That's what they're going to look at first. And you don't really need to put a paragraph for an achievement. I mean, it should be like 1 or 2 words, real short. But there really is no right or wrong way to make a resume. There's not, you really can't go wrong, because they're still going to look at it. They might not really look at it if you write paragraphs, but there's really no right or wrong way to make a resume. This is just a resume I found online, and it's just like real, like covered in sentences, and it's just boring to look at. I mean, I didn't read the whole thing because I didn't even want to read it. So now if I were to hand something in that looked like that, they wouldn't want to read it. It just seems, and then, so the purpose for us to hand in a resume is to like sell yourself to the employer. You're trying to get them to want you. I mean, you can't just go in and expect to hand in the resume and you get the job. Like, you really have to sell yourself to them. You want them to know that like you want the job, and you're qualified for the job, and you know what you're doing. But you also have to know your target audience, because depending on what kind of job you're going for, you're not going to want to put certain things. You're going for a business job, they don't care that you are a soccer team. They don't want to know like that. They don't care. They want to know, you have to like tailor it to what job you're applying for. And once you're done doing it, you should also get somebody to read it. I know I had my brother proofread mine, and like every section I had something wrong that I didn't notice when I went over it, but he noticed it. So he looked over it for me, and he fixed it, and we went through it. But you really want to stand out, because like I said before, they don't take long to look at it. They kind of briefly go over it, try to see what they think, makes you fit for their company. You know, they want to make sure that you're going to come in and you already kind of know what you're doing because you're qualified for the position you applied for. So we have a resume, but we have it to get an interview. You don't hand in a job resume to get a job. That's not how you do it to get an interview, to be able to come in and talk to them and to sell yourself in person. That, and I love this movie. So a little about myself. The first job I had, I was 15 and I started to nanny. So that was like the first thing I had on my resume, and it just like when you watch like a lot of kids, then other people let me watch their kids because some people you don't know, and so it was good like word of mouth for me, but it didn't really help on like a job resume. Now I'm a bartender and in my town, and so I serve people. And before, like, I wanted a serving job, I couldn't get a serving job because I didn't have the experience of a server, so they didn't really want to hire me. But after I got experience at the bar, I got another job. I now work at Holy Tomato 2 in Belka Hill. It's like a gourmet pizza place. And now that I have this on my resume, I've actually applied other restaurants and I've actually gotten interviews because I have the serving experience now, to where the places that I've had, like, even if I had applied before, they didn't even call me because I had no experience. And I'm also part of the Rowan Alumni Association, and I think clubs that go with school really work on your resume. And next up is Jolene.
Okay, so next up, I'll be talking to you about topics that go on resumes. And as you can see here, she decided to do a very basic resume, which was her name, personal information, a summary, experience, education, skills, and references. And as you'll learn, there are a lot more that you can put on a resume, but those are just the basics. So with personal information, you just put your name, address, phone number, and email. It should be your full name, not a nickname, and an address, your current address. And for your phone number, just a number that you can easily be reached at, or be like a message can be left at. And for your email, it should be professional and appropriate, so just your first and last name. And then career or job objectives should come right after that. And it shouldn't be too long. It should just be a brief explanation of the job you're seeking, and even include the job listing number just to make it easier for the hiring manager to see what you're doing and what you want. It'll just be easier on his part. Related skills, this should include 4 to 6 special abilities that relate to the job. You can include skills from work, volunteer experiences, and just interests. You just have to be careful with what you put because each job you apply for is looking for a different set of skills. So just common sense, make sure it relates to the job you're applying for. Activities and interests, it lists the most recent organized activities first. Include your role, organization, location, and dates. General interests and hobbies do not require dates. This isn't really that important, but if you need stuff to put on your resume, you can use that as a topic to talk about. So work experience, this should go on your resume definitely. So you want to list the business name and location of previous employers. List most recent employment first, include start and finish dates, job titles, and tasks performed. Limit the tasks to 6 for each job, and make sure when you're talking about current jobs, you use present tense and past tense for older jobs. Volunteer experience. This also isn't that important, but it's just an add-on if you need to fill in your resume. It can be a way to showcase key skills such as event planning, fundraising, or patient care. Include a description which highlights skills applied and accomplishments. Awards. Also, this one isn't that important, but you can put awards under certain topics that you decide to put on your resume. Academic awards can be included, so for an example, you can put Dean's List if you did make that. You list the most recent awards first, and you should be selective of what you choose. Do not include more than 6. References should also definitely go on the resume. Always include the name, address, phone number, and then email address if you have it. Make sure your references know that you use them, just in case if they get a phone call, they won't be shocked and they'll have something planned out to say. And just keep your references up to date. So here at Rowan, we're all taught that a unique way to make a resume, also called a personal marketing portfolio. It's just a brief account of one's professional or work experience, qualifications, and skills. It should only be one page, so it should be very short, simple, but also detailed. Achievements, this is really important. This is where you want to brag about yourself and sell yourself to the employer. It should go incorporated under the job or education section and should be 3 to 5 bullets. An example would be awarded Employee of the Month in June, July, and August. Or you could say sales consistently rated in top 10% during the year 2015. Experience is also very important because the people that are hiring you want to make sure you're experienced in the job you're applying for. Start with the company and then focus on your specific division. It should be business focused and targeted to your section or responsibility. Education, include your college if you're still enrolled or if you just graduated. And then if you just graduated, it should be listed before experience. And then you can also put your GPA, only if it's a 3 or higher, but you can go if it's lower. And then you can also, if you made Dean's List, put that there. Objective skills or summary, this is an example, so it's very short and to the point. It may be the only thing the hiring manager reviews, so you want to just kind of keep it short and simple. It should represent what you can do for a company. It should be specific to you and it's very supportable with examples, and it should never be copied from the internet. So conclusion on topics, you can put any topic you want on your resume that relates to the job you're seeking. For example, she did all that, and you could do what I just talked about, which is personal information, career job objectives, related skills, activities or interests, work and volunteer experiences, awards and references. So how it relates to me, so I've worked in the restaurant business and for a casino, so for my restaurant resume, didn't really have to be that detailed oriented. They were just looking if I had experience, so it wasn't that professional, the resume, whereas opposed to when I applied for Borgata, I had to make it like very relatable to that. So us as human resource majors, we have to really know resumes because we will be going through them a lot, and it's up to us to focus on how to, like, what a perfect resume is, because we're hiring people based on a piece of paper. Which brings me to this. I'm moving to Alabama this summer, so I've been in the process of sending resumes for jobs. And my resumes have to be a little different. They're more detailed because I just can't come in face to face and get the interview. Like, I have to go through Skype a lot of the times. So like I have to really like be careful with what I put. So some tips is just be honesty. Just like don't lie because that's not important. Like they don't want to see a liar. Creativity, a lot of other people are applying for the job, so you want to stand out somehow. Precision and accuracy, just make sure everything's accurate throughout your resume. And that's it, and that's my conclusion for the topics on resumes. And next up is Alex with mistakes in resumes.
Hi guys, I'm Alex. I'll be going all over mistakes in a resume. Resume is so important. It really separates you. They get thousands of resumes. Workplaces get thousands of resumes, and you really have to separate yourself. That's a really bad resume. It's awful. Some tips about a resume. It has to be really neat and organized. If your employer's looking at it, they usually take about 5 seconds, really quick, to just go over it. I've seen HR people actually do it, and it's like that. Ticos and errors, you can't really spell those two wrong. That'll be really bad. And this actually really makes a point to the people. If you can't spell, they're really going to think that you really don't care, and they're just going to form a quick opinion about you and throw you out. Be specific. Specifics are very, very important. Specifics separate you. If you say you just worked in a restaurant business, no. You could say you managed, recruited, hired, and trained 50 employees in a restaurant, which made $2 million a year annually. That'll separate you really, really well. One size fits all. One size does not fit all. If you hit that guy in the head with a hammer, he's going to have a concussion. That'll be really bad. Basically, you need to take one resume and put it to one job. You just can't apply to McDonald's and then go apply to Macy's all in one time. Accomplishments are really important. It separates over